So, have you ever really stopped to think about what makes you, well, you? I'm not just talking about your personality, but that unique mix of traits you got from your parents. The answer is this absolutely incredible cellular dance called meiosis. Think of it as the biological engine that guarantees that no two siblings are ever the same, unless, of course, they're identical twins. So let's dive in and see how this whole thing works.
I mean, really think about it for a second. Siblings come from the exact same parents, right? They're pulling from the same genetic deck of cards. So what's the deal? Why aren't they just carbon copies of each other? That is the big question we're going to unpack today. And the secret, you guessed it, is all about how our reproductive cells get made.
Okay, first things first. Before we get into the weeds, we have to know the goal of this entire process. And it's pretty straightforward. It's all about making these super specialized cells called gametes. You probably know them better as sperm and eggs. All right, so what in the world is meiosis anyway? Well, it's a super special kind of cell division. See, most of the cells in your body, they're just making copies of themselves for things like growth and repair. It's like a biological copy machine. But meiosis? It has a totally different super specific job. It's all about cutting the number of chromosomes in half. Our body cells have 46 chromosomes, right? But just imagine if a sperm and an egg both had 46, you'd end up with a baby with 92, and yeah, that's a no-go. So meiosis is the crucial process that makes sure our sex cells end up with just 23. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Even though the end goal is the same for males and females, making cells with half the DNA, the way they get there is actually pretty different. Let's put the two processes side by side. In males, the process is called spermatogenesis, and honestly, it is crazy efficient. From just a single starting cell, meiosis churns out 4 fully functional, genetically unique sperm. It's basically a high-volume factory for creating genetic variety. But for females, it's a whole different ballgame. This process is called oogenesis, and it also starts with one cell. But here's the twist. It only produces one viable egg. The other 3 cells that are made, called polar bodies, are basically genetic dead ends. They just disintegrate. This is all about quality over quantity. And this image shows that difference perfectly. Look over on the left. Spermatogenesis makes 4 equal, streamlined sperm cells. But check out the right side, oogenesis. See how the division is totally lopsided? All the good stuff, all the cytoplasm, which is packed with nutrients, it all gets funneled into one giant cell. That becomes the egg. It's a strategy to give a potential embryo the absolute best head start, while those tiny little polar bodies get next to nothing. So here's the bottom line. For every single cell that enters meiosis, males end up with 4 potential chances at fertilization. Females, on the other hand, put all of their cellular resources into making one single powerhouse of an egg. Okay, now we get to the really awesome part. How does meiosis actually create so much variety? Well, it boils down to 3 key events that basically act like a genetic shuffling machine on overdrive. The first big shuffle is something called independent assortment. Here's a way to think about it. You've got 23 pairs of chromosomes, right? 1 in each pair from mom, 1 from dad. Picture them like 23 pairs of shoes. Now, when the cell gets ready to divide, all those pairs line up in the middle. But how they line up is totally random. For the first pair, the mom's shoe might be on the left. But for the second pair, the mom's shoe could be on the right. The orientation of each pair has nothing to do with the others. It's completely independent. And you can see that principle right here. Just look, with only 2 pairs of chromosomes, you can already see how lining them up differently gives you totally different genetic outcomes in the end. Now, scale that up. Imagine that happening with all 23 of our pairs. The math is just mind-blowing. The randomness from this one step alone creates over 8 million possible combinations. And we're not even done shuffling yet. Get ready for the second shuffle, because this one is even wilder. It's called crossing over. This time, the chromosome you got from your mom and the one from your dad don't just line up next to each other. Nope, they get real close, they overlap, and they literally swap pieces of their DNA. And here's what that actually looks like. You start with a chromosome, it's all from your mom, let's say it's the red one, and one that's all from your dad, the blue one. During meiosis, they tangle up, and when they finally pull apart, look at what you have. They've traded little bits and pieces. You end up with these brand new recombinant chromosomes that are a mix of red and blue, creating gene combinations that neither one of your parents ever had. And the final piece of the puzzle, the third layer of randomness, actually happens after meiosis is totally done. It's random fertilization. Think about it. Every single egg is unique. every single one of the millions of sperms unique. So which unique sperm is going to be the one to fertilize which unique egg? It's a total lottery, and it adds a whole other massive layer of possibilities.
So, to really appreciate just how special meiosis is, it helps to compare it to its much more common cousin, mitosis. That's the process your body uses for everyday stuff, like growing or healing a cut.
This chart lays it all out, nice and clear. But just look at that very last row, the genetic result. Mitosis is a copy machine. Its job is to make identical cells. But meiosis? Meiosis is a creativity engine. Its whole purpose, from doing 2 divisions to cutting the chromosome number in half, is to make genetically unique sex cells. Okay, so let's tie all this together. We've talked about all this microscopic shuffling and sorting, but what does it actually mean for you, a person living in the real world? Well, here's the payoff. When you take those 8 million plus possibilities from independent assortment and you add in all the new gene combos from crossing over, and then you multiply that by the sheer random chance of which sperm meets which egg, the number of genetic possibilities from just one couple is in the trillions. Trillions. That is why, unless you have an identical twin, there is nobody else on this planet, past or present, who is genetically quite like you. So the next time you happen to look in the mirror, just take a moment and think about that unique genetic cocktail that makes you who you are. It was mixed together by a random shuffle of chromosomes, an intricate swapping of genes, and the 1 in a trillion chance meeting of 2 single cells. That's not just biology. That's the beautiful, chaotic recipe for what makes every single one of us truly, profoundly one of a kind.